friends, I'm Stephanie Hansen. Let's go! I've been cooking, eating, and talking about it for years.
This is amazingly good.
Now I'm inviting you along for the ride. Stanley! It's the bomb.
Something you cannot live without.
Meet the chefs, home cooks, restaurateurs, and bakers honing their craft.
Everything is going to blow your taste buds up.
And try new recipes with me in my kitchen. It's simple, it's easy, that looks amazing. There's always something delicious to share. These buds got a taste! These buds got a taste! Let's go! This is Taste Buds. Hello, Taste Buds. It's our holiday sweets and treats episode, and boy, is it a good one. My friend Zoë François just had her Zoë Bakes Cookies book come out. She's gonna teach us how to make her take on gingerbread that we're gonna assemble into these cozy little cabins. She's also got a macaroon recipe that is amazing. And I'm gonna bring you back home for the salted caramels that I used to make with my grandma on this episode full of holiday sweets and treats. Let's head to Zoe's house, Taste Buds. So Zoe did our Mother's Day episode in season 1, and we made pavlovas and lemon curd. We loved that episode so much, we asked if we could come back because you have a new book, Zoë Bakes Cookies.
Yes, this one, Cookies, it goes way, way back. I started a cookie company in college. This book was meant to be like an ode and love letter to all the cookies in my life. And then it turned into a bit of a memoir because I had all these family stories coming at me.
From your Bubby Berkowitz, right?
Yes,
and
yes.
Grandma Neal.
And Granny Neal. We're gonna do one from each of those
Good.
characters. Yes, I'm
because
so
when
glad.
you think about like holiday traditions and you think about things that are passed down from generation to generation, it usually is like our family lore, our family recipes. So what are we gonna make today?
Okay, so this one is from the Bubby Berkowitz chapter. And they're really, really, really easy.
Okay, because I have this sense that macaroons aren't easy.
Okay, so there's two. There's macaroons and then there's macaron.
And the macaron are like the sandwich, French fancy ones.
Those are a little bit more finicky. These are dump it in a bowl, scoop it out, bake it. And this one is literally egg whites and sugar together. A good helping of salt, so that kind of balances out all of that sugar. Good glug.
A glug of Zoe's homemade vanilla that you can learn about on her website.
Whoop, an extra little glug.
Ooh,
and
that
the
smells
key
good.
here is to get this really, really well blended so that all of the egg white and sugar become one, so that the egg whites don't just cook and scramble.
Okay.
If they're really well blended, they turn into a syrup. Now that this is really well mixed together, we're just gonna put it over low heat. And so we just want to stir it over the steam until all of the sugar has dissolved. It takes maybe 3 to 5 minutes for that. But really the only way to know is let's feel it and see, make sure.
Oh yeah.
Feels good?
Yep.
Okay.
So we have your syrup ready.
Perfect, yep. Now we just dump. I like to use sweetened shredded coconut, all of our chopped up dried fruit.
This looks super delicious.
Yes, I love it. And
did you use salted pecans or unsalted?
These are unsalted, but because I added a healthy dose of salt, it all comes together.
Okay.
Definitely for me, part of the art of baking is the sweet to salty balance. I think that really sort of perks up all of the flavors. Okay, so the key here is to really jam it into this portion scoop.
Okay.
I'm making sort of a bite-size version of this. You can make giant ones, but really get it nice and jammed in there so that they hold their shape.
I love a cookie at the holidays. Having more smaller bites, I think, is better.
It's exactly right, because it's like the whole truffle thing. You want to be able to taste each one. Okay, so about 8 to 12 minutes.
Okay.
Just until they're nice and toasty and you have that contrast of like crispy edges and then that really nice chewy inside.
Yum, that sounds delicious.
Look at that.
They smell so holiday-ish and pretty.
And they have that like perfect amount of toastiness on the inside.
And look at that little crispy edge.
Yeah, that's the prize right
Love.
there. So I usually like to stack them up and then shake a little powdered sugar on them so that they look like snow-covered haystacks. You want to dust?
No.
No?
I just want to look at that and be so admiring, just thinking, oh gosh, does that look good?
There. Ta-da!
You know, Zoe, everything about what you do is amazing, but also like you do the little extra thing. I just love that about you because you eat with your eyes, right? And baking is supposed to be fun, and you always make things seem fun.
And it's the holiday. I feel like you always have to do that little extra
flourish.
zhuzh at the end.
All right, is the moment to try the holiday macaroon. It's like a little Christmas tree in there. You really get a good crunch. Wow, these are amazing.
This is like a single serving.
While you're watching your Netflix.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, well that was great.
Yeah, so easy.
Love it so much. What's next?
I thought we would do something like fun and project and putsy. I think you're gonna love this.
All right, let's get it going. We have everything ready for our next project. And I'll be honest with you, gingerbread sometimes isn't very good.
Okay, first of all the ingredients are delicious. So we have butter.
Yes.
That's gotta go in. And so I feel like if you're starting with butter, you're already in the right direction.
We're moving closer and closer.
Brown sugar and molasses. This is what's gonna give us the color and that like distinctive gingerbready flavor. Okay, so we're gonna mix this up, cream the sugar and molasses and butter together. You wanna make sure that your butter is room temperature so it really
incorporates on this one, okay.
I'm adding just a tiny bit of water to this. It'll absorb into the flour. Get that all nice and mixed together. Okay, so a little glug of vanilla, because always, I feel like salt and vanilla are two essentials in just about every single cookie. I have my flour, I have salt, baking soda in here, and then this is a homemade, basically pumpkin spice.
Yeah.
Right? So it's cinnamon, ginger, nutmeg.
Do you use cloves?
Either clove or some cardamom, whatever I'm in the mood for. So a couple of teaspoons of that. I like to whisk this together before I add it to the machine, because once I have it on there, I'm just gonna mix it until it's all incorporated.
All these little bits of baking tips are really the difference between good baking and not so great baking.
But this is a super simple recipe as well, you know? We're just dumping basically everything into our mixer and turning it on low so that we don't wear it. That's a good tip.
Which I want to do.
Okay, so that will come together. Right now it looks dry and floury, but it will come together. I'm just gonna leave it on like low until all the flour is incorporated, and then I can turn it up just a tiny bit. Okay, so that looks great.
And now, smells amazing.
Yeah, now we are going to wrap this up. I'm gonna press it into a cohesive dough and then wrap it and refrigerate it and let all of that stuff marry together so it becomes one smooth dough. And so that's why if we tried to roll this out right now, it would just sort of fall apart. But you'll see after this sits for a couple of hours, it becomes a really beautiful, smooth dough. And you can make this well in advance and freeze it so that you have it at the ready for the holidays.
Okay. Through the magic of television, we have dough already prepped.
I am going to roll it out on this silicone mat. I find you use less flour if you roll out on something like this. So we're just gonna flour this, then a little more on top, because it's a little sticky with all that molasses in there. So I'm going to actually cover it with plastic wrap and roll it under the plastic wrap, because then I don't have to add more flour.
Okay, this is feeling impressive. That anything happens good with plastic wrap.
I like this because I can get some heft onto it. So the thinner you get the gingerbread, the crisper it's gonna be in the oven. We're gonna be building little houses, so we're gonna do about 1/8 of an inch, and that should give us some structure to work with. Okay, so this is it. We are done. The most important part of this whole process is making sure it's even.
Okay.
So you don't have like a super thin part and then like.
Yeah. We're going to engineering school now, Taste Buds. She's got all the forms out.
This is the thing. You can go totally simple and use a cookie cutter to do it. There are all really, really great cookie cutters out there. So you can,
Like this is like a whole house situation.
A whole house situation. But if you want a unique shape or size, it's so easy to make your own form. So basically you just pick your shapes. And then all I did is take an X-Acto knife and cut them out of a piece of cardboard. And then we're gonna use these forms to cut out our cookie dough and build our little houses.
Cute, okay.
Yeah.
All right, our dough has rested. It's been in the refrigerator.
Yep, we chilled the dough. And now we're just gonna cut it out. The one thing to be careful of is not to actually cut the silpat. So I'm just using the knife, and then we're just gonna cut these out into the shape. You just wanna make sure each house has to have 2 of these and 2 of these. So this
Your dough is really just so forgiving.
Yeah, it's really easy. And you can cut all of these out. You can make the dough ahead. You can even make the shapes ahead.
So if you're having a cookie making party.
Yeah, I think that these would be adorable to do as like a place setting. Like if you're having a dinner party and you put a little house on each plate.
So far I'm feeling like I'm working with you on this. Yes, I can totally do it.
Yeah. Okay, into the oven. Depending on how thin we roll it out, this only bakes for like 8 minutes.
Yeah.
8 to 10 minutes. And now we get to decorate. Woo!
She handed me a piece of parchment paper and she's like, you've done this before, right? No.
It takes some practice, but then once you've got it, you have it. When I was in culinary school, we had to make 100 of these that held water. That took some time.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can buy triangles already cut, already made. They don't have this notch. This is just cut out of a sheet of parchment. What you're gonna do is take that blunt end and you're gonna fold it and basically try to match up the corner here. So you've already got yourself a cone shape. Yep. Great. And then you're gonna fold this one around the other side and back so that all of the points are headed in one direction. Yeah.
Making a dunce
but then you want to shimmy until it's super tight. If you were to fill this with water, it wouldn't come out.
Got it. Okay.
This is royal icing, and it's made with meringue powder, confectioner's sugar, and lemon juice. It is thick enough that it will hold its shape.
Yes.
It's also what we're gonna glue it all together with, but I separated some out and it's not as liquid as this, so that it really acts as a glue. So first we want to fill our little cones, and then once you have it in there, we're gonna fold our bags shut. And we wanna fold away from the seam because that keeps the seam tight. Okay, and then just like that. Ta-da. And look, see, it just comes out in one little fine drip.
Okay.
And that's what we want. Yeah, keep squeezing. There. Okay, decorate. Go.
Just
do whatever you want to do. The key is keeping it rolled tight so that as you're squeezing, it comes out this end and not the top.
Like little shingly decorations. Put a little holiday garland on the house, on the side.
All right.
There we go.
Look at that. It's awesome. So once it's not tacky anymore, then you can assemble them. This frosting, you can see, is much thicker.
It's our spackle.
Because this is our spackle. This time I'm gonna cut a slightly larger hole on the bottom.
Okay.
So that I really get enough to glue this together so that it has some structure to it. And then I'll just take one of my sides and do a nice thick line along it here. And then I take the edge and I just press it in there.
Okay.
And so if the icing is thick enough, it'll hold. I would leave it there for like an hour.
Okay.
But the stuff dries pretty fast. You can leave it open and maybe fill that with something.
Candy
or whatever you want. Or you can add a rooftop to it. So a little bit more of that glue. And then, okay, this is a super fast, easy way to do a roof. So that you end up looking like you have like a bit of a log cabin thing going on.
So adorbs.
Yeah.
Ah,
And you
so
just want
cute.
to be gentle so that it's not shifting your walls around. And then each one is individual. So you could have like a decorating party.
And I had very little confidence going into this that I was going to be able to do this
Look
with
at
you.
this. I know.
I thought I
it's
would just
so
be sitting
good.
on the sidelines watching you.
And then once it's set up, you can lift them up. You can stick a little like surprise under there. And so when your dinner guests lift it up, there's a little
What would the surprise
present
be?
be.
Like
Like
a
maybe-
little macaroon?
Yeah. Oh, I love it. A macaroon or like a truffle or something.
Yes.
Something delicious. And then because, you know, Minnesota, winter,
Yes.
we need a little snow.
Oh, you just gilded the lily in the way that only you can do. Kind of get it all mushed together.
They're adorable.
They really are.
I love it. I love it.
And I mean, yours looks great, but mine looks good. Like good is, I'm all about it.
It looks incredible. I love how each one has its own personality.
Yeah, its own
too,
character, for sure.
And that we get to eat them. That's the best part. What do you think?
I love the spice mixture that you used. It's kind of spicy, but it's also a little more complex than that. I don't know what that other flavoring is. It's probably the cardamom.
The cardamom, and then also because I use lemon in the glaze, you get that little addition to it.
And again, I've already eaten like 5 of these. Don't miss out.
I know.
This was really
I'm
fun.
So glad.
Now I'm gonna go to my house and I'm gonna make salted caramels,
Yeah.
which I have used at cookie exchanges before or used for hostess gifts. But maybe we'll take one of these houses and
Yeah.
put one underneath. That would be
Yes.
real cute.
There you go.
Cheers. Hi Taste Buds, happy holidays. We are back from Zoe's house. I am making my grandma's salted caramels. I like to use these as hostess gifts throughout the season when you're going to different people's houses. It's a pretty easy recipe. We are going to melt 2 sticks of butter with 4 cups of sugar. I know, it's a lot of sugar, but it is caramels, right? And I'm not gonna lie, friends, this entire like caramel making situation is just gonna be me stirring, because you just basically stir for 20 to 30 minutes. All right, so all of our butter is melted with our sugar. We're gonna add our corn syrup and we're gonna let this come to a boil for 5 to 10 minutes. You can hear the caramelization of the sugar sticking to the bottom of the pan. I'm getting all of that caramel off of the bottom. All right, so I have been stirring now for about 10 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and add 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla. This is my homemade vanilla, still stirring like crazy. I've got my evaporated milk that I'm pouring into 2 cups of heavy cream. As we add the milk and the cream mixture, it's gonna cool it down. What I wanna do is add it at a slow enough rate so that I can keep it bubbling. So we're gonna go ahead and just slowly start to incorporate the evaporated milk and the caramel. Use a big, deep pan that gives you a lot of room. All right, guys, here's something that you only learn when you're filming a television show, and that is my little handy you can watch me burner isn't as hot as my real oven burner. We are gonna just get all of this incorporated at the stovetop so that we can keep the rolling boil. So I've got a candy thermometer and I'm gonna put that in my pot just so that it will help me see when we get up to what they call soft ball stage, which is 240 degrees. We are getting some kind of brown flecks, which is to me an indication that we are getting close. So I'm gonna go ahead and temp with the good thermometer. The candy thermometer says we're there. It's going all over the place, but we're there and I can tell by the color. Okay, so we're just pouring this out. Okay. Now, I'm gonna take my clips off my paper because now the caramel's weighting down the paper. Give it a little tilt so that I kind of go all the way to the edges. I'm going to drop the Maldon sea salt on it. If you've watched us before, we've talked about Maldon sea salt and how it's a pyramid shape. That's why I use this salt in particular, because it's not as salty, but it will stay in this shape and look real pretty. All right, so these caramels are chilled. I have cut up pieces of wax paper. I cut them about 3 by 4, 3 by 5. I'm doing about 1.5 inches a piece. Again, just meant to be like a little bite. You can do them bigger if you want, but we've got our piece. I'm gonna set it on my wax paper, and you give the twist of the wax paper opposing ends. Okay, but these are my grandma's salted Christmas caramels. She would make them every Christmas time. I just loved the way that they tasted, but I also felt like every one was like a little present from my grandma, because she'd made it with her own hands, and we couldn't be in the kitchen while she was making them because of the molten caramel part, but it was our job to help her wrap them up. The flavor is a total wow, and it's handmade, and anyone you make these for will be very, very impressed. All right, taste buds, it has been a little slice of heaven to share my holiday traditions with you. It was so great to make these little houses with Zoe. And remember, you can put the little surprises underneath, like we have the salted Christmas caramel here. You can find all of these recipes for the macaroon that we made at Zoe's house, for the gingerbread, for the salted caramels that were my grandma's. You can find all those recipes at fox9.com/tastebuds. I want to wish your family a happy holiday.